four big needs of the older demographic. And the older demographic, the over 50s, this is a relatively wealthy demographic. These are the baby boomers that I think direct and indirect contribution to GDP globally will be $116 trillion by 2030. A lot of wealth in this sector. And that's people looking for new experiences. I'm now retired. I have means. I still want to climb mountains and go on cruises and explore the world.
This is the Angel Next Door podcast, where we will talk about all things angel investing. What it is, who does it, how do we find them, what does it mean to invest in an early stage company? If you have ever wondered how you can affect the change you want to see in the world, then tune in to learn more. In this episode, I'm talking with Bruce Simpson, active aging visionary and co-founder of Age Tech Capital. Bruce helps to demystify what age tech really means by shining a light on the booming world of technology for the over 50 demographic. He reveals surprising opportunities in innovation and shares real-world examples of startups empowering older adults to live healthier, wealthier, and more independent lives. From personalized AI agents and digital wills to cutting-edge health diagnostics and even companionship robots, you're going to get a front row seat to the future of active aging. Enjoy the show. Bruce, welcome to the Angel Next Door podcast.
Thanks, Marcia. Great to see you.
Great to see you again. I'm really excited to hear you tell us all about age tech and demystifying what age tech is. I'm a huge demystifier. I love to demystify everything. Start us off a little bit. Tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, your background, and then we'll dive into everything age tech.
So I'm from Scotland, but been around a bit, based in Canada the last 20 years. I was 33 years at McKinsey, a consulting firm, but focused most of that in building new companies for clients, also getting into operations performance. I built a technology incubator for McKinsey, which invested in startups. It came from inside McKinsey, getting into the tech space. Worked for years on healthcare and financial services. Healthcare particularly focused on alternative long-term care for the older demographic. There are 10,000 Americans turn 65 every day. And that gives you a bit of a sense of this aging demographic coming through and creating new opportunities and possibilities and challenges as well. And so I spent quite a bit of time tackling some of those challenges and opportunities when I was at McKinsey. Then built a couple of institutes for AI and ethics, working for a foundation when I left McKinsey, and had a big insight that a huge area of AI for good is actually unlocking some of the potential of older adults. We'll get into that. And that then led me to teaming up with two co-founders, Alan McIntosh, who's a legendary tech investor in Canada. He built 5 funds over 20 years. And then Lynn Landry, who's a private equity and social impact investor, very focused on exits and channels. And then me, coming from a McKinsey background with healthcare and fintech and so on. And we have a venture partner too, Sarah Thomas, who's an occupational therapist and is all over the age tech space in the US and abroad. And we're building Age Tech Capital. Age Tech Capital is, first of all, a fund. So we're going to close this fund in Q4. That fund invests at Series A, so later stage startups that are absolutely crushing it with solutions for the age tech space. And we're building the biggest marketplace for angel investors in the world with a focus on age tech. And this is a seed stage platform we're building in partnership with the ARP, which is the second biggest NGO in the world, and the biggest is focused on the older demographic. And we're building with them this investor platform where we're inviting angels to join us to see some of the cream of the crop of great age tech startups that angels can invest in. We track and monitor those startups, and then we invest our fund at Series A. And that's just a wonderful new opportunity, which we can tell people about.
So it's a little like you're creating an ecosystem for active aging age tech companies. So let's give us your definition of what age tech really means.
So age tech for us is technology to support the over 50s in one sentence. And if you bring that down a level, your health and your wealth on average is going to stop at about 55, 60. Your life's going to go on though, because your lifespan's been extended through technology and medicine and so on to 80, 85. And currently we're faced with a 20-year gap where your health and your wealth span does not match your lifespan. Now that gap has led to challenges for healthcare systems, big challenges for individuals. We'll come to those in a second. And there is a bias in society to treat aging as cost, decline, and burden. You're on the back nine, you checked out, go to the beach. And as an older adult, I'm over 60 myself, I get this all the time. Now, we think, however, this last chunk of your life can be the greatest chunk if you leverage technology, which unlocks some of that potential that you have to engage in society and economy, which many people are missing.
Yeah. So give us a few examples.
Yeah, let me bring it down a level. So specifically, there are four big needs of the older demographic. And the older demographic, the over 50s, this is a relatively wealthy demographic. These are the baby boomers that I think direct and indirect contribution to GDP globally will be $116 trillion by 2030.
Wow.
A lot of wealth in this sector. And that's people looking for new experiences. I'm now retired. I have means. I still want to climb mountains and go on cruises and explore the world. What are some services for me? And they're willing to pay for that. So we're seeing new services coming in and new products as well. We're also seeing in that age group, people are saying, you know what? The government's not going to take care of my retirement. I need to get out ahead of it. Let me shift from a curative to preventative health diagnostics, which enable me then to understand, am I at risk of type 2 diabetes? Am I at risk of dementia? And can I do things now to avoid that transpiring? People who just want to find age-appropriate jobs. As they retire from one job, can they rework, dust off their resumes, develop some new skills? And there's a great ed tech platform called Get Set Up, which literally helps. It designs educational platforms for older people by older people to help you connect in the community, find a job, and extend your wealth span. 2 out of 3 Americans will run out of money before they die. So extending that wealth span is a very big deal. And one of the 4 biggest areas of unmet needs that we've invested in a company called Trust and Will, which is doing a 15-minute will online, which is valid in all the American states, disintermediating expensive lawyers and tackling end-of-life planning. Presidio, we invested there too. That's a great startup, which does digital vault, subscription access to a digital vault for personal documents, birth certificates, death certificates, rather than them being in the cupboard under the stairs by the lamp or whatever. These are actually online and you can provide access to them given life milestones to family members. The same goes for videos and family photographs. Decumulation, we invested in a company called Bloom Finance. So many older adults, I think about 80% of older Americans actually own their property. They're asset rich, they're cash poor because they don't have any money coming in. And another great example is Bloom Finance, one of our portfolio companies. And Bloom Finance is a decumulation service. So basically they will give you a reverse mortgage, some equity, some cash, which is linked to the asset that you own, to your house. And that's called a reverse mortgage. But they also have a really clever credit card which enables, let's take an example, grandma owns the house, but she has no cash. And they have a credit card which will unlock a few $100 a month of credit for grandma to spend on groceries or kindergarten for grandchildren. That is actually a loan against the future value of the house when the house is eventually sold. But when she sells the house, she still owns 100% of it. So she's not losing equity in it. It's just a loan against that future sale. And basically the amount each month that's released corresponds roughly with the appreciation value of the property. And those are just a few examples. The biggest unmet need then is financial security, extending your wealth span. I mentioned health and wellness is the second one. So shifting from curative to preventative health. 1/3 of older adults get type 2 diabetes, which is perfectly curable with a shift in nutrition and lifestyle. We invested in a great company called Lifestyle RX. Lifestyle RX is a tech platform. It's sold to doctors who use it when they're coaching their patients during a 12-week course off of type 2 diabetes behaviors. Now, use of this tech platform that Lifestyle RX sells to doctors links to 46% complete remission at a savings of around $8,000 per patient per year to the healthcare system. Because if you haven't got type 2 diabetes, there are other things you haven't got either. And its use is reimbursed by insurance or the government because of the ripple effect and the benefits elsewhere. So it's a great startup. Essentially, its use is free because it's reimbursed by the government to doctors. And this is now growing gangbusters across Canada and the US. I remember one number is they're looking to save the healthcare system in North America $250 billion by 2030, simply by growing the number of users who are in remission by use of their tech platform. So health and wellness is the second big category. Third category, we call it caregiving 2.0. 70% of wage earners, possibly you too, are also caregivers. So think about integrated concierge apps that enable you to cover, did the nurse actually show up on Tuesday who's taking care of grandma? What about sending her that favorite dinner to be delivered on Wednesday? What was the download of the last doctor's visit? What the doctor said versus grandma's interpretation of it. And it helps to cover the bases. So caregiving 2.0 is the third one. And the last, independent living. 85% of seniors want to live out their life at home. Less than 1% of homes have the smart tech enabling that. Fall detection, remote patient monitoring, ambient wall detectors, which are actually measuring level of social interaction, not recording what you're saying, but how many conversations did you have today? Also looking at how you're moving to be able to get into not just fall detection, but fall prediction. And as the probability of a fall is going to go up, as adults don't move as easily around a house, then you can then up the ante on coverage before that fall happens, and falls can be very dangerous for old people. Those four: financial well-being, financial security, health and well-being, caregiving 2.0, and then independent living.
Yeah, that all makes a ton of sense. So before we were recording, we were talking about a company called Function Health.
Function Health, yeah.
Yeah. So that's an example, and we're actually going to be talking to somebody else who does something similar. But tell us a little bit about what problem they're trying to solve.
Function Health, a wonderful startup. I actually invested in them through another fund 4 years ago. A little message here for angel investors. That investment is up 128x. I wish it had been a bigger check based on their current valuation, but they're so very fast growing. Their focus is on health diagnostics. So accessible. It's $499 a year. You get a series of tests. These are basically blood tests you do remotely. You send in the data, and then they will give you 100 biomarkers, assessments, how you're ranking and stacking against people your age. What are the challenges that you are going to be facing? So are you now at risk of type 2 diabetes, that type of thing? So it enables you to understand the risks out there so you can go preventative versus curative. That's essentially their platform. They have now 150,000 members, give or take, growing about 15% a year. And one of the most exciting things about Function Health is their ability with that data set to start developing a personal AI agent that can help you navigate your own data, also make suggestions to you on things you could be doing, ads you could be trying, techniques, approaches. So think of a personalized AI agent that's rooted in your data, but access to a lot of other data as well, that can help you, be a personal doctor. And another cool thing about Function Health is they're attracting, this is not just the over 60s, right? This is younger folks who are interested in getting a handle on their health earlier. And so it's accessible, great data set, wonderful founders, growing very fast. They've just done a big round. I think they're closing $230 million, give or take. So huge.
Wow.
Jason Horowitz is all over it, based in the Valley. And we think they have the high ground in terms of getting B2C adoption of this fast growing platform that's very accessible, and leveraging one of the next things, which there's 3 areas AI is making the biggest difference. And one is this point of a personalized AI agent who can help you navigate your health and find solutions.
And what are the others?
The other areas, we're seeing the predictive power of AI come through in areas like fall prediction, fall detection. For many of your listeners who do have parents, grandparents who've had a fall, that can be the beginning of the end, actually, or the beginning of a slippery slope. Staircases are dangerous. And what AI can do now is not just fall detection. There are many different types of fall detectors, which are around wearable devices, ambient wall detectors, and so on. And that's great. If a fall happens, then a message goes to caregivers, and then the cavalry can come and help and so on. But fall prediction, that's really juicy, because this enables you to leverage the power of AI to pick up data from multiple sensors to enable you to identify that risk of a fall going up. And it's extraordinary. As the level of social interaction drops, as the way you move around your property changes too, then we're now getting into that space with AI. Its predictive power being very powerful. The third, I have to say, for me, is companionship robots. Now, robots, there are different types of robots, but they're robots that climb the stairs so they can carry 80 pounds. These are not humanoid robots. That you basically, grandma gives a tray to the robot. He climbs the stairs to deliver the tray to a partner upstairs, perhaps. And that's terrific growth there. But the humanoid, the personalized robots, which actually have a conversation with you, are quite extraordinary. These robots, they don't feel empathy, but they induce empathy because of body movements, the facial movements that they have, the way they're able to listen, the tone of their voice, their endless patience. They can have the same circular conversation on the same loop with the same patience as a human. Well, more patience than a human. Actually, tests will now show these don't replace humans, right? But they supplement human interaction. And 20 minutes a day with the personalized robot, people actually prefer that to the same 20 minutes with a human, because humans, when you have that tense conversation with a grandparent around something that they just talked about a minute ago, it's hard to keep the same tone, and robots can do that. They're also collecting data on dementia, for example. They're collecting data from your responses, and they're also reminding you, hey, let's take that pill at 11 o'clock in that blister cap that's yellow. And so they add a ton of value. But just the quality of interaction, the LLMs underneath these personalized companionship robots, I think is quite extraordinary. That would be the third area. AI agents, personal AI agents, navigators to help you navigate things, predictive power of AI, and then the personalized robots to do companionship are fabulous.
Wow. So interesting. So tell us a little bit more about the ecosystem you're building, how
Yeah.
angels are a big part of that, and what you're looking to do.
There hasn't been a marketplace for angels to really engage in the space. And so we're partnering with the ARP. The ARP, Americans will know them. You're 65 and American. I think you pay $15 a year. There you go. They have 38 million members, individual members. They also have about 500 companies that are in the collaborative. Those are corporates, J&J down to mom and pop companies are also engaging in the space. And they have a portfolio of about 100 startups too. They write small checks to startups and have a growing incubator. We're partnering with them. We Age Tech Capital, the Series A fund, with all of our experience to build the Age Tech Investor Network. It's called ATIN. We have a website. You can check us out there, ATIN. And that website will provide for angels, first of all, conversations with peers, conversations with industry experts, insight, foresight, where's the market going, exciting new news, pitfalls. And there are some. We need to make sure we touch on those. But most importantly, provides access to deals. So we curate a number of startups which we think are very exciting in any one of those four verticals that I mentioned. We bring them to the platform, and then we invite angels on the other side of the table to join, hear the pitches, hear a bit of dialogue with the startups, and then decide whether to invest through an easy-to-use online platform, kind of a back office. So we're building that now. We've done a pilot over the last 6 months, done a couple of deals on the platform, and that's gone great. And we're now expanding this to a broader set of angels who we'd love to join us. So if you're an accredited investor interested in investing in the age tech space, come and join us, and you'll get access to this curated set of startups that you would not find otherwise, because we have an amazing scouting operation which finds the right ones, along with the ARP, of course, and then bring them to the platform when they're ready for investing.
Interesting. And then, so how do so you do all the diligence and basically vet the companies ahead of time, and then do you put together like a special purpose vehicle so that you can pull
Yes.
the investments together, or how does that work?
Yeah, we do the mechanics behind the scenes. So we will line up a number of investors who are interested in investing. We then combine those checks into one SPV. We do the mechanics, and the angel just has to essentially decide to invest. We're also looking, and for investors interested in understanding the space, I also mentioned we'll have these regular calls with experts so they can listen to experts, founders, and learn more about the space and what's happening. And we look to also be developing peer groups of angels who really want to talk about online pharmacies, or we really want to go deeper on health diagnostics. Then there's an opportunity to have side groups of peers talking and having a dialogue on those things as well.
Interesting. So it's like an angel group, but
Yeah.
But
Like an angel group.
but very specific to age tech and learning about what's going on in the age tech space.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. And this is a sector, as we touched on at the very beginning, the fastest growing segment in the world, right, is this older demographic. Markets are going there. There are trillion-dollar opportunities to actually serve these older adults in those four areas of unmet need. And if you want to understand where the puck is going, using a hockey analogy, then as an angel investor, this is a space to understand. These are consumers that are leaving previous markets, and they now want new markets. They're looking for products and services. They're designed for them. And this is the platform's a great way to tap into that opportunity. There are pitfalls, though, which I think is worth touching on. And one of the reasons why this platform we think is such a value add is that we will have weeded out the startups that we don't believe in. There are a number of startups that are looking to serve the B2C market of older adults, and they don't get that adoption because they haven't understood channels, right? I mentioned Lifestyle RX is great because Lifestyle RX, it's B2B2C. They sell the platform to doctors who use it with patients. Get Set Up is great. They actually sell this EdTech platform to states in the US who then provide access to retirees. You need to understand the influencers of the older demographic, and they need to figure out channels in order to be, we think, a startup that's worth investing in. And if it's a B2C startup, we would expect a lot more traction to really prove out the model, that adoption, and maybe we would encourage investing a little later on the B2Cs. So anyway, understanding channels is important. We tend to focus more on SaaS-based platforms with an AI engine, easy to personalize and scale. MedTech devices require FDA approval. That approval is getting longer. There's some supply chain challenges, right? MedTech the sizzle is in the software, then we're there, right? But you need to be a little bit careful about some of the MedTech devices, and regulatory approval too is not necessary for the software-based platforms. But anyway, there's a few things to be careful of versus just writing checks in the space. And our idea is that we have a value-added, curated platform which avoids a number of those risks. So the stuff you're seeing on the platform is much, much lower risk than what you might find just by searching yourself.
Interesting. So other pitfalls that we should be aware of?
I think if there's a pitfall, nothing about us without us is a mantra, which I think is very important. So if you are a founder out there or an angel looking to invest in a startup, if that startup is developing a service or a product for older people, but they haven't had older people involved in the design,
Yeah.
then there's a risk that they come out with, and we see a ton of these, there are a ton of quizzes. Do this quiz online to help mitigate dementia or something, but they've actually designed it for children, not for adults. And then it might be simple to use, but it's not, it just doesn't click with older folks. And so there's an important question too, which is whether a startup has actually had, and this exists now, panels of older consumers who've actually stress tested the product before it comes to market. There are also now influencers on TikTok. There are older adults who are on TikTok who have thousands of followers who can recommend products. And so I just think it's important that many angel investors will be younger, understand the demographic, which is representing the biggest growth, and the fact that demographic is not the same in terms of what they're looking for, the services need, the products they need. So you need to be thinking the way they're thinking to understand what's going to work. And that, of course, is something that we have baked into our team, is we represent that demographic because we are ourselves. Just a couple of us are over 60.
Got it. Really interesting. I love that you're putting together your own ecosystem for age tech. So tell us where we can find you and where people can learn more.
Yeah, you can find the Age Tech Investor Network, ATIN. The platform is online. We also have Age Tech Capital. We have a website. You can get us to the website.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Bruce. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
Pleasure. Great topic. Come join us. By the way, for early angels, help us shape this platform because it's going to be the biggest in the world. You can help be in at the ground level of that. I think that's exciting. For any of you out there who have aging parents, grandparents, really want to help us transform that experience, unlock the potential of older people, then you can play a role in shaping that. So we have a strong purpose here as well as a great route to financial benefits.
Great. Thanks for joining.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. To connect with me, visit my website at marciadawood.com. And please subscribe, follow, and leave a review. It helps the podcast get seen by more people. And remember, you can also find the Angel Next Door podcast on YouTube too. And if you're looking to learn more about investing in the changes you want to see in the world, sign up for Ann and Bill Payne's ACA Angel University classes. Go to theangelcapitalassociation.org, all one word, to find out the schedule. And classes are now available on demand. Many classes are offered, everything from angel investing basics, which include fundamentals, risk, due diligence, term sheets, valuations, returns and portfolio strategy, and even a class on group formation. There's even a deeper dive where you can get advanced classes, including capitalization tables, startup boards, and exit strategies. If you're not already a member of the Angel Capital Association, you can become one for a low price that will give you unparalleled access to discounts, free webinars with a huge archive of content, networking opportunities, and much more. We'd love to have you join us. All content for this website is informational and not intended to serve as legal, tax, accounting, or investing advice. While Marcia, that's me, does serve on the SEC Small Business Capital Formation Advisory Committee, my views are my own and not the views of the SEC or my fellow colleagues on the committee. Our speakers and hosts are thoughtfully selected for their educational value, but their opinions are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the host, me, or the Angel Capital Association, and neither specifically endorse the use of presenters' products or services. Listeners of the podcast should consult their own tax, investing, legal, or accounting advisors before making important financial decisions. All warranties, including accuracy, completeness, and suitability for specific purpose, are disclaimed.